This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
I've put in probably 30,000 hours. I don't force myself to sit down and work on my craft. I'm better off going river rafting. If I pay attention long enough, something will stand out in reality and it will call to me. And I just have to listen and then help bring it into the world.
Shove, survive, success, soul, spirit. These are my 5 stages of life. And I think when life happens to us or for us, the first 20-ish is life is shoved at you. Whatever your parents' beliefs are often become yours. It feels like gravity wins. And then you go to college, maybe you come out and you feel very much like you're in survival mode. And you don't really get to pick your boss. You hope for the best. You're like, you'll pay me for that? This is survival mode. And along the lines of survival mode, you'll meet somebody or some people that you're like, oh, I want to work with that person in the future. Or you learn what to do by watching what not to do. And the world slows down a little bit. And I think you finally get to, air quoting people, success mode. And finally in success mode, things start to slow down. You say no a little bit more. You make a little bit of money. But something still feels like slightly off. And for me, I feel like courageous was always my soul mode. And I feel like I'm in soul mode now. And I think, I don't know how long soul mode's going to go. And I obviously still want to be successful. But somewhere after soul, I think, is spirit mode. And spirit mode, it's like, did the little acorns fall off the tree and did your spirit live off into other people? I'm not saying you're dead or anything, by the way. But these are my 5 stages. And so I laughed today when I was looking, or I smiled. That's probably the right word. I smiled when I thought about my guest today, who's got his new book that's just come out, Inquire Within. And my favorite line that I've read so far on your website, InQ, was a journey to the center of the soul. And I'm like, that is not a bad place to be. It's hard to do, man. It is hard to do. It is hard to get out of our own ways. We got to be defrosted. Sometimes we got to thaw out. And we got to put ourselves in a position to tap in to who we are. So, one, what's up, man? It's great to see you. You good?
Good to see you too, man. Yeah, I'm doing really good. I have to respectfully correct you. So Inquire Within was my first book. And we just came out with a journal called the Never Ending Now Poetry Journal, which is right here.
Oh, look at this.
Comes in a faux leather and also a really beautiful emerald green felt, which is fun to rub your hands on as you're creating poetry. And it is the accompanying piece of art to the Never Ending Now poetry album, which I also just released. So that's what I've been touring around. But Inquire Within was my first book. I'm still really proud of it. And my whole life is a journey to the center of my soul.
Well, do you feel like, are both books a journey to the center of the soul?
I mean, I think I'm always exploring my experience and my ever-changing truth through my poetry. So everything that I create is going to be a snapshot of where I am in that season of my life. And if I tell my truth, I feel like I'm also telling other people's universal truth.
Yeah, well, my truth is I feel like a bumbling fool that I got the titles off already and I went right on and Inquire Within.
No, don't worry about it. You know what it is that we're friends. So the thing is that if you weren't my friend, I might have just gone, forget it. I'll just get to it later. But since you're actually my homie and we spent some time in an airport, not being able to get on a plane very late, both of us sleep deprived, I figured we'd start this off in an authentic way, you know?
Dude, I really appreciate that. Well, can we have a conversation about the word authentic? I'm
Sure.
definitely, is the word authentic?
I think it depends upon who and how it's being used.
Because I'm like, oh, I want to keep it real. But I think for other people, authentic is authentic. But for me, authentic isn't authentic. It's like, oh, I want to keep it real. want to keep it real with you. Are there different meanings or are they the same?
I don't know. I remember there was this great Dave Chappelle skit when keeping it real goes wrong. Did you ever see that?
No.
You should look it up. When keeping it real goes wrong. And it's like just people who are just in these situations where they decide to keep it real when they shouldn't, and then the consequences of that. So what I would say is that there's no way to keep it real all the time. There's no way to be authentic
Yeah.
all the time. You would never be able to navigate in the world, but hopefully your tracing paper isn't so far off.
Well, I like that you kept it real with me. And again, the never ending now, let's talk about, because I can only imagine how many titles, like when you think about, for the audience, when I think about thinkers, InQ is at the top of the list. Like if there was a podium of people that are deeply thinking about thinking, like you are it. Like you are
Thanks,
there
man.
with the gold medal, right? And one, I feel like philosophy as an idea is sort of, it should be more present right now. Like we all should go get our togas and sort of put life on pause and call time out and think a little bit more. But when I do think about thinking, you are it. So the never ending now, how many titles did you think that you stumbled through or fumbled through before you landed on this one?
None. It's the final uh rhyme of the album, basically. Like it ends and it says, I'll choose to love you harder in the never ending now. And that was something that came up very naturally in a poem that I was writing. And I certainly didn't know that it would be the end of an album or the name of an album. But after I finished the record and listened to it straight through, it just made sense.
Well, give me more on that. Like, how do you know? When do you know?
Well, how do you know that you're in love? You know when you know. Like, I think that how do you know when you finish a piece of art? You know when you know. How do you know if you want to have a burrito for lunch? You know when you know.
So you just knew. You saw, you're like, oh, that's pretty good. That's it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're hoping people do with the book.
Yeah. So the album is about my journey to having better mental and emotional health. And it was so vulnerable when I finished creating it. I wasn't even sure that I wanted to put it out. I had gotten so much out of the experience of making it,
Wow.
um, that it felt strange to show it to people as a product or monetize it or even like get judgments, criticisms, or compliments. Like I didn't want it to be validated by what other people thought of it because it was so healing for me to create. And then I thought, well, let me send it out to a few people. And my criteria for putting it out was if one of the people that I sent it to got back to me and said, hey, this is like really moving and meaningful to me, then it would be worth it for me to put it out. And that was overwhelmingly, the reflection that I got from people that listened to the album. And then I started thinking, well, how could I provide other people with an opportunity to explore their own mental and emotional health through creativity and most specifically poetry? And that's when we started to think about making the Never Ending Now Poetry Journal as like this accompanying piece of art that people could then listen to the album, and if they were inspired by the journal, and it basically like scales all the storytelling sessions that I do in person, but it has all of the poems from the album and then has prompts around them so that people can kind of create and recreate their own story.
When you started sending it out, did you like, I feel like anytime I post something that's really, really I'm scared about, I'm vulnerable about, it's real, it's like honest, but I'm also really scared about it.
Yeah.
I have this moment right before I'm like, fuck it, just hit send. That works for me. Like, do you feel that still? Or is that careless?
I mean, I'm definitely not going to call what works for anybody careless. I think what works for anybody is wonderful as long as it's not hurting other people, right? So we all need frameworks to develop bravery and courage in the world. And I think whatever works for you, I support that. I think, I was looking on the YouTube thing last night because the album's on Spotify and it's on YouTube and it's on Apple Music and everywhere. And this person left a comment below. It said, "You've had me crying all afternoon with your poetry. You've touched my heart and changed my life forever. Thank you for breaking my heart open. I had forgotten it was there."
Wow.
And the thing is like reading a comment like that makes the whole entire project worth it for me. Because it is scary to put something out that is raw and truly authentic. I mean, anytime you create a piece of art, you're separating it from you, even if you're using your own experience and truth. But like, this thing is the closest to me behind the curtains of anything that I've ever put out. And so I wasn't sure if it matched my brand in quotation marks. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it was going to be appreciated. I wasn't sure if it was going to have the same, like, I know not everybody's going to like anything, right? But I just needed at least one person or a few people to be like, "Hey man, like, I get this. Like, I know what you're doing and I see my own life in it. And it makes me ask questions about who I am and where I've been and where I'm going." Ultimately, I want people to feel more empowered, inspired, more clear, more compassionate after they listen to the album. And I want people to take their own creative journey and I want them to find their own never ending now.
Where do you go, like, when you think about your process? Because, I mean, what I think I'm hearing is that this is the most vulnerable you've allowed yourself to be. And if I'm spinning words, let me know. So, do you think it's because you're truly more vulnerable now? Or do you think, like, well, with time and experience and the more you grow the muscle that you've mastered or you're mastering, well, of course, it's going to be even more you than a brand. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends upon how you're evolving. Like, some people metastasize as they grow older. Or metastasize is not the right word. What's the right word? Calcify. I think that's a better word. Like they almost like they get more hardened in their idea of themselves. They stop being willing to be a student. They stop being willing to grow because it's painful to grow and it's embarrassing to be a student. And like, I think a lot of people become an adult and get successful and they kind of just stay in as many areas as they can that make them feel like the king of the world. And I think that you have to like actively pursue feeling the opposite. I have tried to continue to do that in my life. And therefore, I think my art reflects that. Like, I think that I am becoming just more me and more willing to show that to other people and to not need them to react a certain way in order to define myself or have self-worth or you know yeah.
There's a quote that you're reminding me of, which is Cynthia Ocelli, author of Resurrecting Venus. And it's, for a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must come completely undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. And
Yeah.
it sounds like that's the process.
Do you feel like that for yourself? Do you feel that you're getting more able to acknowledge and express your truth as you get older?
I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to who I really am. And it's funny, the amount of times I'll say what people don't understand about the podcast is that it's almost unfair. It's like I get to go have dinner with amazing people and have an intimate conversation and learn more about myself and learn about them. And then there's no bill at the end. It's like this is like the best dinner, and I didn't eat too many carbs. And in the spirit of food, I've always looked at words like words to me, they're like eggs. I love words. Like I love cracking open the egg and getting to the good stuff and understanding the deconstruction of words and bending them, right? And that deconstruction process, I think, is me staying curious. But if you ask me who am I, that's a harder one to answer, right? Because I want to stay willing. I want to continue to stretch. I just posted about this last week too. I have 4 core values that I try to live my life by, and they're prioritized. And optimism is 1, creativity is 2, courage is 3, and I just changed. I had excellence for a long time and changed that to impact. And I don't know if it's funny. My mentor's like, be careful on impact. Mussolini had impact, and I was like, I get you, but I felt
Well, you
what
could be careful on excellence too. I mean, Mussolini had excellence.
yeah, Steve Wilhite. You hear what Q's saying here? No, but with Steve Wilhite, shout out. He is one of my amazing mentors. I've learned so much from. I think you're right. I mean, again, it's a never ending quest to figure out like what do I get energy from? What takes away my energy? One of the questions I was going to ask you, and I don't know if it's as deep, but I am curious. Do you find are you a ritualized writer or thinker?
No.
Like some of your best stuff, like you just when you feel it coming on, it comes on, or are you? I'm walking in the morning and I feel more energized in the morning, or is it just what's that process like for you?
Well, I've been doing this since I was 15. And I would say that I'm choosing 15 because that's when I really started taking it seriously. But I was rhyming before that. I mean, I would say I started when I was 13 and I'm 46. So it is the longest relationship of my life, in terms of like uh, a hobby or something, a passion, or, nothing else has lasted. And I have like a really intimate relationship with expressing myself through rhythm and rhyme. And that has manifested itself in so many different ways, from books to specials to songwriting, to rapping to poetry to, I love words, and I've put in probably 30,000 hours. So like at this point, I write when I have something to say. I don't force myself to sit down and work on my craft. I'm better off going river rafting. And then eventually, if I pay attention long enough, something will stand out in reality and it will call to me. And I just have to like listen and then put in the time to help bring it into the world.
When I think about you and Q, you touch so many different types of people because there are times where you're sharing your words with like how we met. Like we met at it's called a gathering, right? But there's a lot of business people in that world. And other times you're writing songs with, I feel like with Aloe Black or Miley Cyrus or just a very like artists that are also feeling vibrations. Where are we, in your opinion, where are we all alike and where do you see the differences?
What do you mean in the creative process?
Yeah.
The creative process is infinite. It's infinite within one person. So it's definitely infinite between 8 billion. Like I said, I don't know how to quantify that. I know that every time I collaborate with somebody, I have to take in their creative process and meet them in the middle. And that's like a dance. And there's always a third partner because you're dancing with them and you're dancing with the divine. Just gotta listen and stay on rhythm.
Well, what about the fourth partner, right? Like if I'm in my car, again, I'm thinking about, by the way, I have this vision of you on stage at the gathering, kicking off that day. And there's probably, this is nothing new for you. You've been on many stages. This is actually the night before, I think. Gosh, that was the day. It was the morning. And I could see like 500 people that are about to be transformed from your work. And you take us on a journey, and you're going to take us on a journey, and you do you. When you're on a stage, do you just let your do you just let your words do what they're supposed to do? Like, how do you connect with us but also stay and honor?
I think if I'm honoring the piece, then I'm honoring myself. And if I'm honoring myself, I'm honoring the audience. Now, if I decided to be selfish and think only about what I was in the mood to share, I might not do what's right for the environment. And I might accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, but like not actually do what's best for everyone that's in the room or for the event that hired me. So I try to like take both into consideration when I'm creating my sets. And then once I have the poems and stories that I'm going to tell, I try to create a new moment with them so that I'm not like recreating something that already happened in my mind, because then I won't be present when things are surprising and I won't be transformed. And if I'm not willing to be transformed again and again, then nobody else truly can be.
How do you know if that process has been successful? Is it like, do you feel it in the moment?
You never do. It's always successful and unsuccessful. You're not that you can't get everybody. It doesn't work that way. And like to do so or to think you can do so is really actually like egotistical. You have to kind of like give it away and then allow whatever's supposed to happen to happen. Like I can't control how anybody listens to this conversation. I can't control how anybody else perceives me. I have this like interesting experience because I'm like not famous, but I am to certain people, right? And so like a lot of times I'll be in a room right before I perform and I'll just be like chatting with somebody and they don't give a fuck. They're just so looking over my shoulder to see who else they can talk to. Try being in a room of like brand people or business people and telling them you're a poet. They, you know, it's so uninteresting to them because I can't help them in any way they think, and then I go perform and then I'm the same exact person, except like now they're totally interested in what I think and how I feel and how I could come in and do a workshop for their company or a inspiring performance or what's my creative process and how does that relate to their storytelling. And so I just think like you're never going to get everybody, so you should just start with yourself.
I love that. It's so funny. I'm back to a journey to the center of the soul, right? Because if I'm a brand person, and I've been there, and I'm also trying to like truly honor when we met the first time on a boat in international waters, right? Because I didn't know who you were when you jumped on that stage, and I'm almost grateful that I didn't talk to you beforehand, because I was blown away by your magic. And I was like, it landed, and I don't know if that was the moment I knew I needed to go on a journey and needed to like be a better version of myself. But when I think about our relationship and when I saw you the second time in Canada, I felt that I had made progress on my next. Maybe I wasn't fully there, but I felt there was I was like the little seed, right, that had blew itself up, and I liked the path that I was on. And I think that path is a path, and you're never done and to your title of the never ending now. But I think this is a more, well, to me, it's a more likable version of me, but it's a more honest version of who I am. I like this me. I have one sort of sideways question for you. When the brand person who doesn't give a shit about you at first, and they're like kind of looking over your shoulder, like you said, but then you go do your thing and you genuinely move them, and there's a rawness, like the paint hasn't dried yet. They're putty for a moment. I know you can't control it, but there's a moment where you're asking them to, like, don't just look for the business opportunity, look inward and try to better connect with who you really are, right? Because the minute they go, I want to bring you in for a workshop, has that time passed for them?
I think it just depends upon the person and how deeply they resonated with the poetry. There's been people, my first corporate workshop that I ever did, I just used the same exact format that I had been using for teenagers. I was doing schools and junior high and libraries. I did juvenile facilities. I did Upward Bound for kids, their first time college and anybody in their family. I was doing these poetry programs that taught kids hope, empowerment, how to alchemize these unreleased stories that were trapped inside of them. And I saw how they would progress as human beings, become more confident and more connected to themselves and other people. I got this corporate gig. I thought I'll just do the exact same thing. So I do like this 100-person company, and like it's very successful, standing ovation. I leave a month later, the CEO calls me up and he says, hey, so I just want to let you know, 2 people quit after your workshop. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, they decided that this isn't what they wanted to do for the rest of their lives. And he goes, thank you, because now we get to hire 2 people that actually want to be there. So we hang up, and I think 2 things. I think, one, okay, that's a really incredible CEO.
Yeah.
And then 2, I think this is pretty unsustainable. If I want to continue this as like a business and a creative model for myself in the future. So I made tweaks and I created a system where I allow people to connect to themselves and their coworkers in a much deeper, human, contained way without going so deep that people aren't able to move into the next thing, which might be about EBITDA or whatever, right? And I'm proud of what I created with these poetry, storytelling, team bonding, trust building workshops. And I hear over and over again how long the intimacy lasts beyond the session. And my philosophy has been, if you have no context to who you're working with, you tend to have miscommunication. And if you have better context, you have better communication, better collaboration, and better creation. We do 40 to 60 performances or workshops a year with Fortune 500 companies. And I'm proud of them. I'm just as proud of them as anything else that I do in my career, because it's about people first and foremost. And, in the corporate world, if you were vulnerable all the time, you would get nothing done. But being vulnerable none of the time doesn't work either. And this is a path to have a contained moment of feeling human together.
By the way, when you said the I don't know if it's even considered a word. When you said EBITDA, I thought, oh, that's fun to rhyme. Have you created any poetry with the word EBITDA in it yet?
No, I'm actually very surprised that I even pulled that out of my ass.
I was like, it sounds like he's used that word before.
Earnings before. No, I'm not even
Yeah.
going to it.
EBITDA. It sounds
EBITDA,
like
EBITDA.
it sounds like something you could use. This is a line on your website that I loved. You say, defining myself is like confining myself. So I undefine myself to find myself. And I'm just nodding away over here, going and smiling because it's just, it's like it's so element, like it feels like it belongs on like the periodic table, but like the purest element and in the essential part of this is like, oh, the label, and then undoing the label and stripping yourself away and really looking at yourself. And is that my truth? Is that my truth? Is that who I really am? And then why am I doing that? Let me, I have to unlearn to relearn is what I took away from all of that. I'm sure you love all your babies equally, right? But are there certain lines that just you can't not fall in love with that feel like you? And it's not about anything but just it's the truest version of who you are.
I mean, nothing really comes to mind. I would say the next line, the one that I haven't made yet because it's closest to God or source or however you want to call it. I love creating. It's painful sometimes, even when I'm creating from joy, but it's always worth it.
You've mentioned the divine a few times. Talk to me if you don't mind. Can you share that? What is that relationship and why? How do you honor and trust that relationship?
Well, that is a relationship that has changed as I've changed and will probably continue to change for the rest of my life. My wife asked me once, she goes, "Do you believe in God?" And I thought about it and I said, "I believe in you." And I really mean that. Like she's my anchor to the world. And I think anchors can come in, all sorts of disguises. They can come from work, they can come from adventure, they can come from a passion, they can come from kids, they can come from your relationship to religion or some non-denominational universal energy that has some divine design to it. But I think it's important to have an anchor in the world because otherwise, like, you really are untethered in a way that can be fun, but it could be scary.
And it sounds like careless or reckless.
I think, yeah, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by careless or reckless?
No, it's like I think religion and or God hurts us but helps us. I think
Yes.
without some of these rules of the world, it would be a very chaotic people, we'll say. And this isn't me pretending I'm not with the people. I am. I definitely believe in something bigger than me. You talk about the learned and the unlearned. What I what I believe for myself, and I find myself like if you've listened to this show, I'll like I think I know, I think I've learned because you never everything's an asterisk because life is moving forward. But in the moment, the way I honor something way bigger than myself that I don't really know is like I appreciate when an idea has come into my brain. How did it get there? Why me? And if I keep waking up thinking about that idea, I believe that that's a sign that I'm supposed to continue working on that idea and try to bring it to the world or my world, to bring it to my world, right? My community or my life. And I honor that, whatever that is. And I try to that's a force for good. I think I'm trying to help people that are stuck get unstuck or nudge them closer to being more brave for them, which is a relative term in itself. But the stories that I I keep thinking about on a regular basis. I just sort of chalk that up to, thank you, universe. That is my divine, and I'm working on them right now, universe. Like that's how I see it for me.
There's a really cool saying, follow the path and the path will lead the way. And that always resonated with me. And the thing is like you are the follower and you are the path. So when those things keep coming into your mind or coming into your heart or, grabbing your focus, you know that like follow the path and the path will lead the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me right now where you feel the most joy, and also separately the most frustration.
I'll give you my frustration first and then I'll move into my joy. My frustration is that I chose poetry as my path to put my spirit or whatever into the world. What a quote that is. My spirit or whatever into the world. And I have achieved a lot of success. And I'm not going to run through my accolades because they're boring and who cares. But like, I still am in a position where if I don't make noise, people stop listening. And it's only because my genre does not have the proper infrastructure and monetization as every other genre. So I've basically like snuck into every genre you can imagine. I've snuck into books, I've snuck into movies, I've snuck into TV, I've snuck into music, I've snuck into speaking, I literally the list just goes on and on. I am doing a children's book right now. There's just like so many different ways and I love that, but it's also annoying. Like I do want to get to a place like I have a gig, not next week. I have a gig next week too, but I have a gig the week after that. And I just got back from a month of traveling on tour. The woman that I work with, Sophia, said, do you want to spend time at the CEO after party or do you want to come home? And I said, I want to come home. And it's not that I don't want to spend time with people or get to know them, but I don't want to feel like I'm there looking for a lead. That's just so exhausting. And I'm not at that place in my career anymore. And if I was in comedy or acting and I had reached the same level of success, I'd be gone, bro. Like
Yeah.
not gone from not having this conversation, but gone from having to uh, do anything to create my own momentum. If that makes sense.
It makes
Like,
total sense.
because you'd have a whole team around you and they just follow the yellow brick road. And there's no yellow brick road for me. I'm in the jungle with a machete, just chopping around. I'm a pirate on a ship and I have mateys and they hoist the sails and I'm not hurting in any way, shape, or form. I'm unbelievably grateful. There's many times in my life early on, I didn't even make any money until I was past 30. So like I can't believe where my life is at this point. And I'm super grateful for that. But it's also frustrating because at a certain point, I'd like to just completely let go of the roller coaster and throw my hands up,
Yeah.
So I would say that is still a point of frustration. I could pause there before going into joy. I'd also like to know your pain points or,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so easy to like, because I think of course the vessels that you infiltrate or show up in are unique, but I kind of made a joke about it earlier. Like I feel like philosophy kind of went away when it shouldn't. Like now more than ever, we're talking over each other and we're like, it's called poetry, but I see you as a philosopher, a philosophizer. Like it's profound, it's insightful. Your ability to short circuit people that are on autopilot. Like I've never seen somebody do it like you. And I'm not, I hope you know, like there's no pandering. It's
No,
just
I
fact.
appreciate it.
It's just facts, and I take great joy also in tiptoeing near that arena. Like I know my I know my forums, right? My forums today are more business settings where I say I get paid to tell the truth. And sometimes there's so many untruthful conversations where words aren't even being used because everyone's biting their lip and companies are losing a lot of time, that I'm brought in to delicately have that courageous conversation or help a leader with a courageous decision. And I would be the first one at that CEO party. Not, I understand your comment on the lead, but I love people so much that I gain energy from like, tell me every problem you have. Like the amount of times I've said I want to be the best friend I can be, and it's very lonely to be a leader. Probably very lonely to be all of us, and I'm sure you have a thought or two on that topic as well. So for me, my frustration, I mean, for those listening, my head's nodding when you talk about like losing your hands on the roller coaster and just being able to chill for a little bit. My frustration comes in, I think I feel like I can help, but helping is very different than marketing how I help, and people aren't mind readers. So it's like now you've got multiple jobs, right? Because I just want to be able to take a stage or have a real conversation. But now for some people, I have to convince them, which it's never a good place to be. Like, I don't want to convince you of anything. I want to just help you. I want to help have the hard conversation. I want to help guide the courageous conversation. I want to help bring the team together. But now there's this whole other world. My frustration comes from if I'm busy on a stage, someone else has to like let the world know I'm actually here to help. That's another job as a whole. So I'm not really like wildly frustrated right now. I'm like honored and grateful that I've leaped lives from an ad guy already into, oh, Ryan's great. He's got courageous leadership, or he's helping us with the change mission. I like all that stuff. I just want more at bats. I want to do this. It brings me so much joy. It really does. I get so much energy from it. I mean, we kind of get paid to give calculated advice, but I was thinking about my process, which is very similar to your comment about context earlier. How do you make sure you're listening first, hearing what's not said, right? And then helping leaders, oh, you said this, but it's coming off this way. Or you're saying this, am I hearing this right? The problem is X. All that again, maybe because it took me so long to get close to what I wanted to do for a living or for my life. I'm just like awesome that I get to play in the sandbox now. For you said you were 13 when you started. You think you'll ever fall out of love with words?
Maybe. I mean, I leave the door open to fall out of love with words. I haven't yet, but I think maybe that's because I don't force myself. I just allow and follow the path, and the path will lead the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love words. I like you. I love learning about them, how they sound,
Yeah.
everything. They're just fun. It's like a little playground.
Yeah.
What about?
I agree with what you're saying. I think there's just different roles to it, right? It's like there's storytelling, and then there's storytelling about the storytelling, which is marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty good storyteller. I'm not the best storyteller about my storytelling. And if you had somebody else who was doing that you felt like was as world class as you at the other things that you really enjoy, then it would take some of the pressure off there, and you would get more at bats. And I think you're supposed to continue to have pain points in every area of your life, because that's how you're have an opportunity to work on something and make things better, so that you can have different pain points, and then make it better from there. So I don't think that I'm coming into companies and giving them any guidance about how to do their business better. I'm just giving them a container for truly getting to know each other by using an art form they would never normally use. And an art form that, to be honest, makes them all slightly uncomfortable and confused. Like, why are we doing this? This is going to be stupid, I guess, because they told me to be here. And then by the end of it, everybody is literally crying and laughing and hugging in 75 minutes, and they can't believe it. And then they share their poems with each other after I'm long out the door. And it's like so beautiful that I could leave people with something that they could use as individuals and as a community or company without me. Or they can get the Never Ending Now Poetry Journal, and then they can continue to do other prompts on their own. It's like a real incredible thing that I stumbled across, and it's totally additive to all the other things that I do with my art form.
I'm curious if, and I want to get to, is that your joy answer, or what? Is there another one?
Yeah, that could be it. Let's just go with that.
Oh man, I want you to tell me what like that's a good one, but when you really step back and think, like, what brings you the most joy right now? What's the answer?
I mean, my family, my wife and my home life, and moving towards creating a family with her is the most exciting thing for me. I grew up without a father, and my mom and I have a complicated relationship, but I am so grateful to her, and she gave me everything that she could, and I have so much love for her and appreciation for her. She was a school teacher. She raised me without any help. And one thing I'll say is I had a big brother when I was a kid, the Big Brother and Big Sisters organization. For anybody who doesn't know about it, please look it up. It's an incredible organization. And I know the CEO, Artist, and he confided in me the other day that they're going to honor me and I guess put me in like the Big Brother and Big Sisters Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
And like that brought me so much joy. It was definitely the highlight of those few days. And there were some incredible things that happened over those few days. So that's just to let you know how much it touched my heart. And for anybody who doesn't know about the organization, basically you just get to be a mentor to someone who doesn't have a parent in the household, whether that's a father or a mother. That was like a big deal in my life. Gave me some confidence and a foundation that I had been lacking. It's definitely something to look into if you're looking for a way to give back.
I don't know if you met Artist when I met Artist up in Canada, or maybe you knew him before. That's where I met him. He's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot that is originally where I met him, and then he came to Patau for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, and I ended up doing 2 events for them. I just have the utmost respect for him as a human being and what he's done with that organization and continues to do, and the impact and the excellence. And I'm using those purposely.
Yes,
that that he and Big Brothers and Big Sisters have.
I know we're getting close to wrap time here. I've got 2 questions left. One, where do you have an abundance of patience, and where do you have no patience?
What an interesting question.
This is one question. This is only one question, by the way.
Wow. Where do I have an abundance of patience and where do I have no patience? Okay, I think I would say that I have an abundance of patience as I close my eyes tightly to check in on myself to make sure that I'm saying the truth. You ever do that? Close your eyes to almost like close off yourself from the world so that you can open them back up and actually connect. I think that I am a macro-optimist and a micro-pessimist. So when I zoom out, I really am optimistic like you are. I think that the world is headed in a good direction. I believe in evolution. No, that's not true. I take that back. I believe that sometimes you need a revolution and sometimes you need an evolution. And I think that humanity, on the whole, is moving in a good direction. But when I zoom in and I get too close to the television, all I see is these pixels, and I don't see the full picture, and I just want to fix everything, and everything fucking annoys me. And I think that there's a lot of issues that we have and then as our global human culture, I see a lot of mental and emotional illness. And I don't have a lot of patience for stupidity, when it comes to those things, or greed when it comes to those things. But when I get on stage and when I'm like communicating with people, I don't want to cause a revolution in their heart. I don't want them to quit their jobs unless that's really what's best for them. What I want is for them to be reminded of their anchors, of the important things in life, how special it is to even be here, that they were in a race against 100 million or 150 million sperm and they won, and that it's a miracle, and that your life is where you put your time and your love. And for people to reflect on like how they're spending their time, how they're loving, and if they can evolve to a greater loving, to a greater sense of clarity, passion, compassion. And yeah, I guess that's it.
It's so good. I'm just going to sit back here and close my eyes and take it in, The Never Ending Now, where can people find it? This is not my last question. I got to slip this one in.
The Never Ending Now album is on all of the places that you can stream. So it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. And all you have to do is look up IN-Q in Q. And you can check out The Never Ending Now. And then we partnered with a company called Passion Planner, which is a leader in the space, and created these really beautiful journals, outside and inside, from beginning to end, cover to cover. And I'm just so proud to have these in the world and to allow people to have a creative experience through poetry without me having to be there to facilitate. So I recommend people do it on their own. I recommend they do it within their couples or even their families, or, buy it for your team and do it yourself once a month, and see if by the end of going through the 10 prompts and the 10 poems, you're not closer to yourself and to other people.
I am on passionplanner.com right now. I'm on the page that says how this journal flows, right? Experience, create, activate. How much fun must this have been? I mean, welcome back to the world of deconstruction. But I am, this is probably a good place to wrap, but I think you know this, but I love you, man. I'm like so grateful that we got stuck in an airport. I feel worse for you than for me, because I was like, oh, I got to spend some time with NQ. And I loved our conversation, even though we both probably needed some sleep. And just grateful for not even just our friendship, but just the fact that you are making an impact in the world. And to use your rhythmic notes, you are excellent at what you do, and keep doing it, man. And I'm excited to hear more about it. Didn't slide by me, that life at home and family life and what all that possibly means. And maybe I'll turn this over to you to, again, if someone's going to stick around for an hour here, they're clearly into the convo. How do you want to wrap the show?
Well, I just want to reflect the same thing back to you. I really enjoyed hanging out with you, and I've enjoyed all of our interactions since. And I mean, I don't know what authenticity means, but I think you got it. And like, you're just one of those people that like, I feel good around, I feel connected to. Sometimes I have my walls up for various reasons. At least the way I grew up, I can tend to be slightly judgmental or suspicious, and I have to overcome that. It's like we teach what we need to learn. So I teach people vulnerability because that's been so valuable for me in my life, and it's always worth it, but I have to continue to learn it. And you just like moved right around that. Maybe it was because we were both tired or something like that, but I just saw you, man. And at the end of that, I was like, I really like this guy and I like what he's doing in the world. And I was happy to call you a friend. So
Amen, man. All right. Keep rolling. Passionplanner.com, folks. Check this out. I hate that it sounds like so selly. There's got to be a better way to do that, you know? Inquire. Keep rolling, brother. Be good.
Love you, bud. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.